Today's menu highlights recipes featuring marinated and make-ahead dishes. To accompany her barbecued pork loin, Nathalie will prepare an array of unusual accompanying salads, black beans and corn salsa, make-ahead coriander green beans, historic Fred Harvey's coleslaw, and a colorful avocado-orange salad, all flavorful additions to any warm weather menu.
Hello, I'm Nathalie Dupree, and today I have a meal that's mostly made ahead, but there is a little last-minute grilling. The easiest thing to do is to start making your marinade because it's going to get more flavor the longer you can keep this in the refrigerator. You can do it anytime. The marinade itself will keep in the refrigerator several weeks, although you wouldn't want to leave the meat in it that long. First thing that you want to do is to cook some chopped onion, and many times I cook onion in batches, as I've said, and then reserve part of it. And that would be just perfect for a dish like this. You chop your onion, cook it with a vast quantity of other onions, and then just take out this portion. It always takes about 5 or 6 minutes to soften an onion. Then you add ketchup, vinegar, brown sugar. Where is it? Here we are. So much for reading and doing at the same time. I often wonder how they ever could do that. Anyway, Worcestershire sauce was the other thing I put in there. Prepared mustard and soy sauce, which is what I put in there that sizzled. Salt and pepper to taste. And since you don't know how this is going to taste, I think you should wait a little bit until you're able to taste it. You bring it to a boil over medium heat. Then turn off the heat and let it cool to room temperature. And then you can keep this marinade in the refrigerator several weeks in the tightly covered jars. These are, the kind of jars that you usually use for jams and jellies and finely preserved, but you can just use a tight container of any sort. It doesn't have to be a fancy ball container like that. Now, you usually get a big piece of pork loin like this, and then you can slice part of it and roast part of it. So you can cut your own slices or else buy them about 1/2 of an inch thick. Lay them in a shallow pan then. So I'm just going to do this so you can see them going in. And cover them with the marinade. And ideally, your marinade would be cool, not poured over this hot like I'm doing this right now. So remember it said cool to room temperature. And I could open one of those, but I'll just do this. And you cover it then tightly. And I don't know why you wouldn't do this also as well as that in one of the rubber type containers that go into the refrigerator. This will actually kind of be cooking it if you pour the hot marinade on it. So do as I say, not as I do. Cover it and marinate it at least 1 to 2 hours, and you can leave it in the refrigerator as long as 3 days. Then remove the pork from the marinade to shake off the excess. And these nice little cups just stack. That's one of the things I like about it, and it makes it much easier to clean. Don't lick your fingers before you grill something. And you can see that this meat is darkened, and that's just the process of having it exposed to air. Now, heat a grill, and I've got a very nice pan here. I've been using the Le Creuset for a while, as many of you in the show know and write me about. And I particularly like this because it's got these little lines on it so that you can pretend that it's grilled. Have you noticed how everybody thinks that things are healthier if they're grilled? So this is as good as grilling because the smoke that's created from this is going to flavor the meat just like it would on another grill. Obviously, if you have it outdoors, it works even. An outdoors grill, it works even more to contribute to the poetry of the occasion, but this works very well. Now get it in there and let it press it. In fact, sometimes you can kind of press it in there to be sure that it's going to give you that mark that you want. Oops. And then here we go. So you see, this is what they're doing in all those fancy restaurants that you're going to. They probably don't have a grill either. Cook it about 4 to 5 minutes per side until it's just done. And then serve it hot or at room temperature with this black bean and corn salsa that I'm going to show you. See, you need to get it in there and get it really seared before you turn it. Let me just say one more. Nope. Just let it go for a second. I'm going to turn mine off because I don't want to cause a little smoke alarm to go off here. But at home, you would stay right with it. Get it in, turn it, get it in, and turn it. Now, this is the wonderful corn salsa, which I think you're going to like very much. Let me just pull the plate of done chops up there for you. You may be asking about that marinade. We didn't really recommend to boil it and to use it for anything else, but if you wanted to use it again for something else, you'd have to boil it because it's had raw pork in it. So, okay, now this is very difficult. Drain and rinse some canned black beans. Cook some ears of corn and cut off the kernels. And you can, of course, cook it in the microwave, or you can heat a big pot of boiling water in and drop it, or in the microwave, I actually cook it in the husks and then just peel back the husks. Once again, if you have that big pork loin that you're serving for dinner, that you're roasting it, and then you've sliced these for another time, at that point, you could serve corn with that big roast, and then you could cook an extra ear of corn and make your salsa from that. So let's go ahead and just slice these off. A lot of you have written to my mother-in-law who showed you how to milk corn on one of the shows, Celeste Dupree from Social Circle, Georgia. And she's been passing your letters on to me, so thank you. Now, chop a large, and lots of that cookbook have sold too, I might add. Now, go ahead and peel and seed and chop a large tomato. In order to seed a tomato, cut a little X in the skin. Can you see how I did that? Then drop it into boiling water for about 6 seconds and roll it. And then this skin just pops right off, depending on how ripe the tomato is. Now, I know you would never refrigerate a tomato, so this is a nice ripe one. Now, go ahead and let's just show you some different ways of chopping it. Here's as good a way to chop it as any. Just go ahead and cut into it. Sometimes I put it into boiling water and then into cold water to peel it because I want to slow down the cooking quickly. And then if it doesn't sit on its side very easily, which it doesn't, you can go ahead and chop like this and then go back and chop the other half. Now seed and chop a jalapeno pepper. And for that, put on your gloves. And you know the littler the pepper, the hotter it is. So let's get this out of the way here. Cut it in half, and then get both the seeds and the membrane out, because by the time when all is said and done, both the seeds and the membrane are hot. One transfers the heat to the other. So get rid of that. Go ahead and put the flat side down away from you and chop it. I'm afraid you can't see that. Boop. Slice it across and then down. Now you're sort of in a quandary about that because the outside of this skin is hard. It's hard to cut through, but it's easier to go through something when it's flat rather than when it's on the round. So you have to make a serious executive decision. I told you this was a hard recipe. Now stir together your corn, your beans, your tomatoes, your chopped onion. I was going to show you how to chop an onion. I never did. I'll do that real quick if I have time. Chopped onion, jalapeno pepper, lemon or lime juice. You wouldn't use the canned kind, would you? No. Chopped cilantro. I teach you a lot about how to grate lemon rind. So go ahead and juice your lemons ahead of time and pop the, when you take off the skin of a lemon or a lime for something else, then go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and add my chopped cilantro before I forget it. When you take the grate rind or the grate of a lemon or lime off ahead of time, then go ahead then and juice it. Put that juice in your freezer or in a jar in the refrigerator until you're ready for it. And then you'll have it when you need it. You won't always have to be fooling with it. Now, you can serve this salsa with any number of wonderful dishes. Let's see, what am I going to do with that while I turn this over? I just want to show you how to chop that onion. Meat, fish, poultry, even vegetarian dishes would do well with it on top. I keep it in the refrigerator. Chips is a dip. Here's how you chop an onion. Cut it in half. Peel it away from you so that you don't cry. Like this. Cut into it. Just follow the dots. Nature's drawn them for you, so follow the dots. Nature's pretty good to us, you know. Cut in like this, and then down. There you go. You've got your salsa with a little zing. Let me show it to you when it's fancied up. Of course, if you wanted to tote the salsa to a picnic, that would be great too.
Nathalie will return after a word from her guest.
Hello, I'm Walter Royal from the Inn at Bonnie Bray in Durham, North Carolina. And I'm here to talk to you about selecting meats, cheeses, fruits, and vegetables. We will start with selecting cheese, storage, and maintaining it. There's a large variety of cheeses, and it should be an important part of your diet. When buying cheeses, if you buy them in 1 pound increments, take them, cut them, wrap them, and store them in plastic in a darker part of the refrigerator. If you should end up with mold on a cheese, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's bad. Just take a sharp knife, go beneath the mold for about ½ an inch, and remove it completely. And in many cases, when you see mold on a cheese, it's actually sealing it and keeping in the flavor. It's like I say, to remove it and wrap it and keep it in dark, and you shouldn't have that problem. Moving on from cheeses to selecting protein. Chicken is a very common part of household meals. In selecting chicken, I find if you go in and you look at the date on them, the sell-by date, take it, fill of it, look at the package, make sure that the package is not ruptured, take it home, refrigerate it immediately, and use it within 3 days. If you don't use it within 3 days, take it from the package that you buy it in, break it down into serving portions, double wrap it, and freeze it. And removing it from the freezer, allow it to thaw in the freezer before usage. Chicken is one of the most common agents, I should say, of food poisoning, salmonella. To prevent salmonella, take 3 steps. Cooking your chicken to 165, cleaning all utensils as well as hands with warm soapy water, and that will eliminate the threat of salmonella completely. Beef, there's many cuts of beef. Prime is the preferable choice of most people. If you buy beef in bulk, take it, have your butcher to cut it into serving portions, use as you may, freeze it, and once again, allow it to thaw in the refrigerator. To get the best from your meats, allowing them to thaw in the refrigerator will give them longer life and less chance of you picking up some type of food poisoning. Vegetables, potatoes, onions. In the South, this is a wonderful time of year for all vegetables. Buy them, and you usually have about a 7-day lifespan on them. One tip, don't store potatoes and onions in the same area. They both love nice, dark spaces, but keep them from being in the same area because they give off a gas that interacts, and onions will make potatoes turn dark and rotten faster. Fruits. Melons are a very popular thing pretty much year-round. In selecting a melon, take it, fill of it, smell of it from the bottom, and it should have a wonderful aroma. And if it's a little green, allow about 3 days outside of the refrigerator, then clean it and put it in the refrigerator in a dark bag, and it should be fine. Berries, once again, you're entering into a time of year where we have tons of berries everywhere. Berries are highly perishable. You have about a 2-day lifespan. So in following some of these tips, maybe you will find enjoyment in these items.
For nearly a century, Le Creuset's colorful French cookware has been a favorite in kitchens around the world. From its bold finishes and uncompromised quality to its easy-to-clean materials, the brand's range of iconic products are as easy to use as they are to love.
Now I'm going to show you Fred Harvey's coleslaw. And for those of you that are very young, and I am also equally young, Fred Harvey was a food entrepreneur in the 1930s and 40s. His food was on the Santa Fe Railroad Super Chief, at the Grand Canyon's El Tovar Hotel, and in Harvey House restaurants all across the western U.S. The restaurants even were made famous in the movies, in MGM's 1946 film, The Harvey Girls. So this is his recipe. Who knows where it came from? I think my friend Elliot Mackle gave it to me. First thing that you do is remove the cabbage core and get rid of any ugly little pieces, and cut it into a piece small enough to fit into your food processor. So let's do this here. There it goes, and it works. Let's see though. But the thing is, you also have to be able to get this thing down. So let's see if we can. Nope, I'm going to have to cut it widthwise. It fits one way, but not the other. Fits lengthwise, but not widthwise. So do that. You know, sometimes I think they made these a little more fancy than they needed to do the job. So let's go ahead here one more time, cut it in, and I must be doing something wrong. That usually is what happens when I'm in front of you with one of these gadgets. Let's see. I think I've got it on right. Okay, let's just see if it's working. No, this is my first mistake. There's a lock on the top somewhere here. Somebody's writing me frantically. Ah, there it is. No wonder it wouldn't work. I don't think it was all their fault. It's my fault, too. Now, go ahead. You can do the whole batch like that, and you don't have to work as hard as I did. I forgot there's this little latch. They made it too sophisticated for me. Now, peel and trim an onion, and just cut this off. And I think I've already shown you how to chop it, come to think of it. So I'm not going to even bother with that. You can shred it or you can chop it. And peel and trim a carrot. These all go they can all go into the food processor. I'll show you how to do that. That's a little different. And then shred them. And I've got the grating blade in there, and you can work right one on top of each other. Here's this. Usually I like to get 2 or 3 lengths of this to fit in here so that they hold each other up. Here, there we go. Good. And now let's just, yay. Okay. And then here's my onion. And for this, finally, one time, you cut off the root. You can do it by hand. Use one of those hand graters. But the food processor really does make it a breeze, and I don't know why I was making it so difficult with that cabbage. Now, put your vegetables in a pretty glass bowl. Or in this case, I've got it in something to go in the refrigerator because I wanted to make this meal so that you could see how much could be made ahead of time and toted somewhere or made ahead of time for an indoor-outdoor meal at home. So go ahead and put them into something with a tight-fitting lid. Now sprinkle them with some sugar and celery seeds. I've got them in a very good place here. I don't think those are the celery seeds. I think those are the sesame seeds. Well, pretend I sprinkled them with celery seeds. They're here somewhere right under my nose, no doubt. Now, meanwhile, oh, it's all over here. I've got my whole, this is a hot dressing, and my celery seeds are all the way over here, and that's over there. Mix together salt, dry mustard, peanut oil, white vinegar, and sugar in a small saucepan. And just bring it to the boil. I'll put it over here because I know that burner's on. And simmer it for a minute or so, whisking occasionally. And that celery seed was supposed to be in there, and ignore the sesame seed. It'll just make it taste better. When it comes up to a boil, pour it over the cabbage, and you get kind of a nice wilted cabbage kind of a feel. Pour it all over. That'll be good. And let it stand covered for at least 4 hours. Sorry, I dropped my diamond. Just leave it there. It keeps in the refrigerator 4 to 5 days. Toss it over and over again. Let me add the onions and carrots. It's been a good day. And toss it again before serving. I can't even blame it on the phone ringing. My phone rings a lot. Okay, just old age, I guess. At least I had a chance to wear my oven mitt. That matches my apron. I feel like Gauguin out here. Now, here's some make-ahead coriander green beans, and I am a great believer in making green beans ahead. First thing you want to do is to trim them. So here's this, tip them and tail them. I didn't need to cut off that much of it. And if you want to snap them in half, you can. Depends on how you're going to eat them. If you're going to just fork them, then you might want to cut them a little smaller. But if you're going to have a knife and fork and you're at a table, then you don't need to worry about it. Put them in a large pot of boiling water for about 5 to 7 minutes. And this is the same thing that you do for blanching them. Now, once again, when I'm cooking green beans, I will usually cook a big batch of them. I'll put half of them in the freezer, wrap them carefully, put them in a plastic bag usually, freezer bag, and put them in the freezer and use the other half for that night. That way I've got them when I need them. Now, after these are cooked, you drain them, you run them under cold water, which is refreshing them, that sets the color, and drain them again as much as possible. Then put them in the refrigerator for up to 4 days or in the freezer. When you're ready to serve, heat some olive oil, and sometimes I heat butter, but this is olive oil and butter, and just get it there singing and sizzling, and add coriander, ground coriander, sugar, and the beans. And here they are, the way they're supposed to look cooked. So you see, you can do this way ahead of time, and you toss them over the heat till they're heated through. I've got the sesame seed in them. I bet you can't hear me. I've got the sesame seed in there already, and I'm going to season it to taste with salt and pepper. And they are so good and so simple, and those sesame seeds give it just a nice little crunch. Let me show you how pretty they are in case you want to do it as a high cotton dinner. There we go. Now, I want to show you another little quick, simple vinaigrette that I've got here. A great thing to serve this with would be John Markham's great-grandmother's lemon meringue pie. So that'd be a nice dessert. And what I have for you here now is a very simple salad, a very simple vinaigrette. So the first thing that you want to do is to mix oil, or put your vinegar in a jar, in a bowl. Arrange your lettuce leaves on a plate. I've done that here, but it could also be spinach leaves. Let me just get that. My friend Clem was trying to help me. We have a big crew here, and if something goes wrong or if something's cooking and I am not paying attention to it, they will try to fix it for me, which I appreciate. It's an ongoing effort not to burn down the joint. Okay, now I mix together my vinegar and my mustard, and that's the real basis for this. Now this could be red wine vinegar, which is one of my real favorites, but it could be balsamic vinegar. If it was balsamic vinegar, then it would need less oil. In fact, many times I don't even put oil in with balsamic vinegar. I want to go ahead and add this. You add oil to it. And in this case, I'm going to add just a little, oop, it's not my day, is it? They're all laughing. So I've got my Dijon mustard in there, I've got my red wine vinegar in there, I've got some minced garlic in there, and salt and pepper. Now, if a vinaigrette dressing is too oily, you add salt and it pulls up the excess oil. When it's too salty, you don't want to add any more salt, then add sugar, and that pulls up the oil. And add vinegar and add pepper. A good vinegar usually means that you don't have to add much salt or much sugar. If your salad dressings are real oily, then you may want to really reconsider what kind of vinegar you're using. Now what I've got here, I've got an orange, which I have just cut off the base of, cut down like that, all the way around it, peel it, and then cut it into wagon wheels. Put them on top of your lettuce. This is really hard. And then peel and halve and slice your avocados. And I must tell you, I had some wonderful avocados from Florida that were giants, bigs. And I just left them out at room temperature and put some of them in a bag, and some of the brown bag, and some in room temperature. And I have probably never tasted anything as good as that. Now, you can make that vinaigrette ahead of time, and no matter what anybody says, you can refrigerate it. This was really nice and ripe. Smooth it out a little bit before you cut into it if you use your hands like I did. I should have probably cut it like that and peeled off it to be sure that it wasn't gushy, and then you just drizzle it. Oh, what a nice, ripe, luscious avocado it is. I'll fluff it up and just spoon your dressing over it with particular care to the avocado so they don't brown. About a tablespoon of serving.
Nathalie's menu was full of easy recipes of marinated and make-ahead dishes. To accompany her barbecued pork loin, she prepared an array of salads: black beans and corn salsa, make-ahead coriander green beans, the historic restaurant recipe for Fred Harvey's coleslaw, and an avocado-orange salad. The perfect accompaniment, this Markham family lemon meringue pie.